Well, let's take a look at solving linear equations. Some right steps down here. Solving linear equations. We have a note that goes up at the top. It says at any step, combine like terms and combine numbers. That's actually anywhere in algebra you run across that you do that, but you see it a lot of it in linear equations. Our first step is to get rid of parentheses. And we do this via the distributive property. Our second step is to get rid of fractions. And we multiply everything by the LCM of all the denominators. We're going to talk more about what does everything mean here in a minute. At first, that'll always mean terms, so we can multiply all terms by the LCM. But we'll see later on it doesn't have to be a term. We can extend these steps to anything separated by pluses and minuses. Third step. Get everything with an X on one side, numbers on the other side. So numbers on the other side. And step 4, divide both sides by the number in front of the X. Now I wrote these in terms of X, but you could have any variable. Now how I teach math is I like if I can find one step-by-step approach that solves 100% of the problems, I'm happy. I'll use that for every problem when I'm teaching it. I tend to ignore shortcuts. So if you see the shortcuts, you want to use them, that's fantastic. The problem with linear equations is there's between 10 and 12 different shortcuts, and most people don't know when to use them. And sure, they'll save you time, but my goal is to get as many people through algebra as I can. Okay, so let's look at our first problem. We got x plus 4 equals negative 2. Okay, first step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Third step, get everything with an x on one side, numbers on the other side. I'm going to take this 4 and I'll move it over to the right side. When you take anything and move it across for equals, the sign is going to change. So the positive 4 becomes a negative 4. Again, when you take anything across your equals, your sign changes. Now we have our note up at the top, says that any step combine together like terms, combine together numbers. Negative 2, negative 4 gives us a negative 6. And x is by itself, so we're all done. And that's our answer. Now some of you may have learned that different. You may have learned doing a negative 4 like here, and negative 4 here, and then doing something like that. If it works for you, then keep on using it. That's kind of your guide. You'll find as you go further on in algebra, intermediate algebra and college algebra, sometimes you're moving so many things back and forth across the equals. It's much easier for you just to think of it in this way. You take anything across your equals, sign changes. Let's look at our next problem. And actually, yeah, I might have room here. Got 2/5 equals x minus 1/3. This one's got a shortcut, but I'm going to ignore it. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. I do have fractions. It says multiply everything by the LCM of all your denominators. Well, for our LCM, this one's kind of boring. If I take a look at my denominators, I got 5 and 3. If I do the prime factorization of each one, 5 is already prime, 3 is already prime. So our LCM, we look for the start with 3. We're looking for the greatest number of 3's on any single line on the right side of the equals. Well, there's 1 3 here, there's none here, so we'll have 1 3. Then we're looking for the greatest number of 5's in any single line. There's 1 here, none here, so it'll be 1 5. So our LCM is 15. And we're going to multiply everything by 15. Now, when I say everything, I'm talking about what's separated by pluses and minuses and equals. So I'll take 15 times 2/5, 15 times x, and 15 times negative 1/3. Now 5 and 15 are both divisible by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 3 and 15 are both divisible by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. If at this point all of your denominators are 1s, that means you picked the right LCM. 3 times 2 is 6. 15 times x, that just is 15x. And 5 times negative 1 gives us a negative 5. Now step 2. Step 3, get everything with an x on one side and numbers on the other side. I'm going to take this negative 5 and I'll move it to the left side. Remember, when you take anything across your equals, the sign changes. So that becomes a positive 5. At any step, combine together numbers. 6 plus 5 is 11. Fourth step, divide both sides by the number in front of your x. Well, the number in front of our x is 15. So we'll divide both sides by 15. Do that, those 15s cancel. And we got x is 11/15. And that would be your answer. Let's look at the next one. We got negative 5p is equal to 15. That says check your solution. I'm going to check my solution on this one just to show what they mean by that. But for the most part, you don't see me check it very much in these videos. Okay, first step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. I don't have any. Third step, get everything with a p on one side, numbers on the other side. When I talk about the number, I'm talking about the constant term where there's just a number there. Well, that's done. Last step, divide both sides by the number in front of your p. See how I'm changing it to p instead of x? Number in front of our p is a negative 5, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 5. Those negative 5s cancel. And 15 divided by negative 5 is negative 3. Now let me start checking it. Checking it, you take the negative 3 and you put it up in your original equation. So where the p is, I'll put in a negative 3. And at this point, this is not an equals, it's a question mark. We're wondering if it's equal. Well, negative 5 times negative 3 is 15. And if both these equal, then it checks. Okay, so let's look at our next problem. We got 5/3 p is equal to 10. Again, there's a shortcut to this one. I'm going to ignore it. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. I do have a fraction. It says multiply everything by the LCM of all your denominators. Now I only have one denominator, the 3, so we're going to multiply everything by 3. And again, when I say everything, I'm talking about what's separated by pluses, minuses, and equals. Here the 3's would cancel. And we got 5p equals 3 times 10, which is 30. Now our last step, is our third step is get everything with p on one side, numbers on the other side. That's done. Our last step is to divide both sides by the number in front of your p. So we'll divide both sides by 5. And those 5's cancel. And 30 divided by 5 gives us 6. So our answer is 6. 7/4 is equal to 2b. Okay. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. I do have fractions here, 1. So we have one denominator, so that is our LCM. So multiply both sides by 4. I'm going to do that. These 4 is going to cancel. And we got 7 is equal to 8b. Now, our third step, get everything with a b on one side, numbers on the other side. That's done. Everything with a b is here, and numbers on the other side. Now, our fourth step is to divide both sides by a number in front of b, which is 8. And his 8's cancel. And we got b is equal to 7/8. And that's our answer. Last problem. 5/12 q is equal to -1/8. Okay, first step, get rid of parentheses. Let's see if I shut my window. Silly dog's gonna sit there. Yap. There we go. Okay. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. Multiply everything by the LCM of all your denominators. Well, this time we have 2 denominators, so let's find that. To find the LCM, again, we do the prime factorization of each one. 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. And 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. Now we start at the first prime, the 2. And we're looking for the greatest number of 2's on any single line. There's 2 here, there's 3 here, so the greatest number of 2's on any single line is 3 of them. Then I go to my next prime, the 3. And I'm looking for the greatest number of 3's on any single line. There's 1 here, none here, so it'll be 1. 2, 4, 8, 24. So our LCM is 24. And that's what I multiply everything by. So I'll multiply it times the 5/12 q. And I'll multiply it times the -1/8. Well, 12 and 24 both divisible by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 24 divided by 12 is 2. 8 and 24 both divisible by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 24 divided by 8 is 3. Again, if you got 1s in all your denominators at this point, that means you picked the right LCM. So I'm left with 2 times 5, which is 10, q, and 3 times -1, which is -3. Third step, get everything with a q on one side, numbers on the other side. That's done. Fourth step, divide both sides by a number in front of your q. So we're going to divide both sides by 10. These 10's cancel. And our answer is q is -3/10. And I think that's the last one in this section. So all done with that.